Right. Now, ooh, Jesus. Yeah. Let's turn it a bit. Hello. Okay, so I did mess around with the audio a little bit. So if you could be my my tester for just a second, Raklos. Nice to have you in. Am I particularly loud? Hello. Oh, Jamie, you can come in here. That's good. We can get Jamie in here as well. Not after you, other than have you very sleepy. Alien sounds and static. Okay. Okay. I found that they're quite quiet as far as I'm aware. Like listening to them. Okay. Okay. Well, that's that. Let's try. So the issue I was finding, yeah, many ghosts. The issue I was finding was that my audio. It's 2 a.m. for you, Raven Schmaven. Hello. I'm glad to have you in. You don't have to stick around though. If it's 2 a.m. for you, I'm so sorry. That sounds exhausting. Let me see if I can. But while I'm here, where's well, I mean, that is very understandable. Filters, that's what it is. Okay. No. That way. How's that? How's that sounding to everybody? Hello, 7 stars, 7 stones. Oh, good. I was worried that we weren't going to get many in because of the new time and new day, but that's good. We've got new people. Welcome in. Niet William Willexander. That's a great name. They are very friend-shaped. And immensity, excellent. We've got so many people. So it sounds better. Because the thing is that the more suppression I put on, the more like doughy it sounds, and I feel like it's hard to hear what I'm saying otherwise. But let's leave it like that. Oh, well, we'll try one more thing. There's a new option which is RNN noise. I don't know if it's better or not. So how does that sound? How does that sound? Because it's supposedly a higher quality of noise suppression. I'm not sure. I think my mic is just really bad, and I need to get a new one. I'm well aware of that, but it is more clear now. What does everybody else think? Okay. What does everybody prefer? That's a good idea, Raven Schmaven. Good night. Have a good sleep. Have a good sleep. Don't worry about it. It is very early in the morning. Okay. Well, we'll try it like this for a while and see how it goes. If it's more clear and everyone prefers it, then we'll do it this way. Okay. Good. Now, yeah, yes. I mean the whispering. It's very strange. I don't know why it is that my mic decides to just pick up on ghosts. I guess I just have a lot of ghosts in my house. My mic picks up on it. Eventually, I will get an actually good mic. Because there are other things that I want to record anyway, so I might as well. But yes, today. Well, so we'll if unless anyone else has any preferences as to the noise, we'll stick with this for now. I don't have a preamble for today. Can't think of any. Well, no, that's the thing. Kaz isn't here. Don't worry. I'll call you Alexander. Don't worry, Alexander. You can. In 30 minutes, we're gonna still be reading. So we're gonna be still reading in 30 minutes. I can promise you that. So have a good dinner. Yes, Kaz is not here. I didn't want to at him specifically. But if somebody else wanted to, then they can do that. But in general, it's just It's just, you know, it's fine. I was gonna do this anyway. And it's actually quite nice to do it earlier in the day when I'm not so sleepy myself. Yeah, I really don't have a preamble for today. I wasn't think I feel like I was thinking of something very specific a little while ago, but it's completely gone out of my head, so I don't think there's actually any don't think there's anything to discuss beforehand. It's not like we have any extra new information about either shows yet. Well, either film or show, so I should have read the letter and been able to discuss Sam's culpability. No worries. We met Faramir. He's had his whole monologue yes, we're at the Forbidden Pool chapter, which will and you'll understand the meme not 1 second. Like the meme is referencing literally the first sentence in this chapter. So so I did not put so much effort into the meme this time, but I just felt it's just a very visceral image to me, and I thought it was correct. But yeah, let's just get going. Kaz can come in. Well, I mean, I didn't ask you to though, so we're both at fault. I will eventually read this letter. I will. I can't think of anything. I feel like I read something that I wanted to discuss. But I can't remember it now. And I did ask, but only on here, and I should remind you more often than just on here. It's hard to remember. Oh, right, okay. Well, yeah, but the sandbashing part is what we were debating, I imagine. Anyway, we'll just get started reading. I will also turn off my internet on my phone. Okay, so we are at Chapter 6 on the Forbidden Pool. Frodo woke to find Faramir bending over him. For a second, old fears seized him, and he sat up and shrank away. There is nothing to fear, said Faramir. Really, Faramir? But you didn't have to do this. It's just so unnecessary. It's just so unnecessary for him to be anyway. Is it morning already? Said Frodo, yawning. Not yet, but night is drawing to an end, and the full moon is setting. Will you come and see it? Also, there is a matter on which I desire your counsel. I'm sorry to rouse you from sleep, but will you come? I will, said Frodo, rising and shivering a little as he left the warm blanket and pelt. It seemed cold in the fireless cave. The noise of the water was loud in the stillness. He put on his cloak and followed Faramir. Sam, waking suddenly by some instinct of watchfulness, saw first his master's empty bed and leapt to his feet. Then he saw two dark figures, Frodo and a man, framed against the archway, which was now filled with a pale white light. He hurried after them, past rows of men sleeping on mattresses along the wall. As he went by the cave mouth, he saw that the curtain was now becoming a dazzling veil of silk and pearls and silver thread, melting icicles of moonlight. But he did not pause to admire it, and turning aside, he followed his master through the narrow doorway in the wall of the cave. They went first along a black passage, then up many wet steps, and so came to a small flat landing cut in the stone and lit by pale sky, gleaming high above through a long deep shaft. From here 2 flights of steps led, one going on, as it seemed, up onto the high bank of the stream, the other turning away to the left. This they followed. It wound its way up like a turret stair. The Head Abandon seems like a really wet place to live. Like, it seems like a bad idea. Like, they had to have figured this one out. Like, so the steps are really wet and probably slimy. They probably had to. All of the rangers probably kept having to do like scrubbing the steps duty. Otherwise, men would be lost regularly because they brain themselves after slipping on the on the really wet, slimy stones. I actually remembered something I did want to discuss very briefly in the bashing, which is that I remembered something that I remembered he would make a good ranger. You're totally correct. But I remembered something I actually was discussing with my mother. I was remembering that. So a lot of what we're reading right now, this was because I'm still getting irritated with every single time that there's a mention of Sam or something that he did that was wrong. You get this like, oh, but he's such a dullard, he's so simple-minded and thick, etc., etc. And every single time I'm like, shut up, Tolkien, that's so cruel of you. But admittedly, if I wanted to give Tolkien the benefit of the doubt, if I wanted to give Tolkien the benefit of the doubt, which I never do, I never want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I always want to blame him all the time, but sometimes it's good to like consider so that the book is less bad, or less mean to Sam. Sam is the one writing this section of the Red Book of Westmarch. So Sam is the one here who is doing the writing. So it would make sense for Sam's character to literally be putting himself down in these moments. And you have this moment specifically where Frodo, first we get Frodo's point of view and him waking up and he was frightened by Faramir, but then we move very quickly onto Sam's point of view and him following them out into the path. So probably in this situation, they were talking about what happened. They discussed it with each other. Yes, no, I already said it. I won't give this the benefit of the doubt. However, it does mean that I do think it makes sense for this situation and just in general to read it and it sounds better. It is still mostly Tolkien. I do agree with you, but I do also feel like it's perfectly reasonable and feels better to attribute it to what Sam is saying about himself, because that's just what he is. That's just the kind of like he's very self-deprecating. He's and obviously has a terrible father who comes up so much in his head just to berate him that it's like the most it's so abusive. But anyway, that was what I thought of. I'm glad I remembered it. But yes, so yes, no, I know it's not true. It's not the truth, or at least it's not even the whole truth. Even if maybe Tolkien did mean it this way, he still believes it somewhat at the very least. Like it definitely is not. It's definitely not what Tolkien had entirely intended. But I also do feel like it works enough to hold on to it while we're reading these terrible chapters. Wound its way up like a turret stair. At last they came out of the stony darkness and looked about. They were on a wide flat rock, without rail or parapet. At their right, eastwards, the torrent fell, splashing over many terraces, and then, pouring down a steep race, it filled a smooth-hewn channel with a dark force of water flecked with foam, and curling and rushing almost at their feet, it plunged sheer over the edge that yawned upon their left. A man stood there, near the brink, silent and gazing down. Frodo turned to watch the sleek necks of the water as they curved and dived. Then he lifted his eyes and gazed far away. The world was quiet and cold, as if dawn were near. Far off in the west, the full moon was sinking, round and white. Pale mists shimmered in the great vale below, a wide gulf of silver fume, beneath which rolled the cool night waters of the Anduin. A black darkness loomed beyond, and in it glinted here and there, cold, sharp, remote, white as the teeth of ghosts, the peaks of Ered Nimrais, the white mountains of the realm of Gondor, tipped with the everlasting snow. For a while Frodo stood there on the high stone, and a shiver ran through him, wondering if anywhere in the vastness of the Nightlands his old companions walked or slept, or lay dead, shrouded in mist. Why was he brought here, out of forgetful sleep? Sam was eager for an answer to the same question, and could not refrain himself from muttering, for his master's ear alone, as he thought. It's a fine view, no doubt, Frodo, but chilly to the heart. Not to mention the bones. What's going on? Faramir heard and answered. Moonset over Gondor. Fair Ithiel,
as he goes from Middle-earth, glances upon the white locks of old Minduluin. It is worth a few shivers, but that is not what I brought you to see. Though as for you, Samwise, you were not brought, and do but pay the penalty for your watchfulness. A draught of wine shall amend it. Come, look now. He stepped up beside the silent sentinel on the dark edge, and Frodo followed. Sam hung back. He already felt insecure enough on this wet, high platform. Faramir and Frodo looked down. Far below them, they saw the white waters pour into a foaming bowl, and then, swirling darkly about a deep oval basin in the rocks, until they found their way out again through a narrow gate and flowed away, fuming and chattering, into calmer and more level reaches. The moonlight still slanted down to the ball's foot and gleamed on the ripples of the basin. Presently, Frodo was aware of a dark thing, small, on the near bank, but even as he looked at it, it dived and vanished just beyond the boil and bubble of the fall, cleaving the black water as neatly as an arrow or an edgewise stone. No, he really can't. He just has to. Faramir just has to be poetic at some point. He's just and listen, this is fine. Like, this is quite a nice character part for him. I quite like the fact that that literally he can't stop himself from snaffling in poetry, even though he doesn't know these people. They're literally captives, and it's just not necessary. But no, he has to be a little bit poetic at all times, which I think is sweet. If he wasn't such a prick, I would like this part of him. But now I get to make fun of him. Yeah, he also could have just not written it like that if he didn't also believe it's true. It would. I mean, the issue is if he had written it with the idea in mind of it being Sam writing it, it would make sense, because that is Sam's character. He is constantly deprecating himself at all times because of his dad, and it would make sense if that was the case. So it's easy enough to kind of place in there when it comes to it, but it's definitely, but for real, it is never something that I would use to defend Tolkien doing this, because it's definitely not what he meant. So anyway, Faramir turned to the man at his side. Now, what would you say that is, Anborn? A squirrel or a kingfisher? Are there black kingfishers in the night pools of Mirkwood? "'Tis not a bird, whatever else it may be," answered Anborn. "It has 4 limbs and dives manwise, a pretty mastery of the craft it shows, too. What is it at? Seeking a way up behind the curtain to our hidings? It seems we are discovered at last. I have my bow here, and I have posted other archers, nigh as good marksmen as myself, on either bank. We wait only for your command to shoot, Captain." "Shall we shoot?" said Faramir, turning quickly to Frodo. Frodo did not answer for a moment. Then, "No," he said. "No, I beg you not to." If Sam had dared, he would have said yes, quicker and louder. I couldn't find a way to meme that, but I always found it very funny. He could not see, but he guessed well enough from their words what they were looking at. "You know, then, what this thing is," said Faramir. "Come now, you have seen. Tell me why it should be spared." "In all our words together you have not spoken once of your gangrel companion, and I let him be for the time. He could wait till he was caught and brought before me. I sent my keenest huntsmen to seek him, but he slipped them, and they had no sight of him till now, save Anborn here, once at dusk yester evening. But now he has done worse trespass than only go coney snaring in the uplands. He has dared to come to Henneth Annwn, and his life is forfeit. I marvel at the creature, so secret and so sly as he is, to come sporting in the pool before our very window. Does he think that men sleep without watch all night? Why does he so?" "There are 2 answers, I think," said Frodo. "For one, he knows little of men, and sly though he is, your refuge is so hidden that perhaps he does not know that men are concealed here. For another, I think he is allured here by a mastering desire, stronger than his caution." "He is lured here, you say," said Faramir in a low voice. Does he then know of your burden?" "Indeed, yes. He bore it himself for many years." "He bore it?" said Faramir, breathing sharply in his wonder. "This matter winds itself ever in new riddles. Then he is pursuing it." "Maybe. It is precious to him, but I did not speak of that." "Then what does the creature seek?" "Fish," said Frodo. "Look." I love it. I love it very much. Shut up, Barry. He just tried to catch some fish. Good lord. No, again, it's understandable that Faramir thinks that something that looks like an orc and it behaves like an orc might actually be an orc, but actually trying to... Anyway, they peered down at the dark pool. A little black head appeared at the far end of the basin, just out of the deep shadow of the rocks. There was a brief silver glint and a swirl of tiny ripples. It swam to the side, and then with marvellous agility, a frog-like figure climbed out of the water and up the bank. At once it sat down and began to gnaw at the small silver thing that glittered as it turned. The last rays of the moon were now falling behind the stony wall at the pool's end. Faramir laughed softly. Fish, he said. It is a less perilous hunger, or maybe not. Fish from the pool of Peneth Anun may cost him all he has to give. Now I have him at the arrow point, said Amborn. Shall I not shoot, Captain? For coming unbidden to this place, death is our law. Wait, Anborn, said Faramir. This is a harder matter than it seems. What have you to say now, Frodo? Why should we spare? The creature is wretched and hungry, said Frodo, and unaware of his danger. And Gandalf, your Mithrandir, he would have bidden you not to slay him for that reason, and for others. He forbade the elves to do so. I do not know clearly why, and of what I guess I cannot speak openly out here. But this creature is in some way bound up with my errand. Until you found us and took us, he was my guide. Your guide, said Faramir. The matter becomes ever stranger. I would do much for you, Frodo, but this I cannot grant, to let this sly wanderer go free at his own will from here, to join you later if it please him, or to be caught by orcs and tell all he knows under the threat of pain. He must be slain or taken. Slain if he is not taken very swiftly. But how can this slippery thing of many guises be caught, save by a feathered shaft? Well, let me go down quietly to him, said Frodo. You may keep your bows bent, and shoot me at least if I fail. I shall not run away. Go then, and be swift, said Faramir. If he comes off alive, he should be your faithful servant for the rest of his unhappy days. Lead Frodo down to the bank, Amborn, and go softly. This thing has a nose and ears. Give me your bow. Amborn grunted, and led the way down the winding stair to the landing, and then up the other stair, until at last they came to a narrow opening shrouded with thick bushes. Passing silently through, Frodo found himself on top of the southern bank, above the pool. It was now darker, and the pools were pale and grey, reflecting only the lingering moonlight of the western sky. He could not see Gollum. He went forward a short way, and Amborn came softly behind him. Go on, he breathed in Frodo's ear. Have a care. To your right. If you fall in the pool, then no one but your fishing friend can help you. And forget not that there are bowmen near at hand, though you may not see them. Yes, exactly. Like he's just hungry, bro. Oh, hello. Oh, yes, thank you. I'm very glad you liked my meeting, Des. Thank you, and have a good day. But yes, okay. So he just woke up. He only just woke up, Faramir. Please, he just woke up. That's terrible. Like you get Faramir. Like the thing is that Faramir doesn't wake him up by like calling him or stirring him or like touching his shoulder or anything like that. No. He has to just be bending directly over him and let him wake up just by sensing his presence. It's so unnecessary of you, Faramir. Anyway, Frodo crept forward, using his hands, Gollum-like, to feel his way to to steady himself. The rocks were for the most part flat and smooth, but slippery. He halted, listening. At first he could hear no sound but the unceasing rush of the fall behind him. Then, presently, he heard, not far ahead, a hissing murmur.
Fish, nice fish. White face has vanished, my precious, at last. Yes, now we can eat fish in peace. No, not in peace, precious, for precious is gone. Yes, lost. Dirty hobbits, nasty hobbits, gone and left us, Gollum, and precious is gone. Only poor Smeagol all alone. No, precious. Nasty men, they'll take it. Steal my precious. Thieves, we hate them. fish, nice fish, makes us strong, makes eyes bright, fingers tight, yes. Throttle them, precious, throttle them all, yes. If we get chances, nice fish, nice fish.
So it went on, almost as unceasing as the waterfall, only interrupted by a faint noise of slavering and gurgling. Frodo shivered, listening with pity and disgust. Okay, but he also should be listening with concern, because Gollum once again does express direct wish and intent to murder their hobbits by himself. But anyway, this is more Gollum than Smeagol.
Let me twist about.
Right. He wished it would stop, and that he never need hear that voice again. Anborn was not far behind. He could creep back and ask him to get the huntsman to shoot. They would probably get close enough while Gollum was gorging and off his guard. Only one true shot, and Frodo would be rid of the miserable voice forever. But no, Gollum had a claim on him now. The servant has a claim on the master for service, even service in fear. They would have found it in the dead marshes but for Gollum. Frodo knew it too, somehow, quite clearly that Gandalf would not have wished it.
Smeagol,
He said softly.
fish, nice fish.
Said the voice. Smeagol, he said a little louder. The voice stopped. Smeagol, Master has come to look for you. Master is here. Come, Smeagol. There was no answer but a soft hiss, as of intaken breath. Come, Smeagol, said Frodo. We are in danger. Men will kill you if they find you here. Come quickly if you wish to escape death. Come to Master.
No,
said the voice.
not nice, master. Leaves poor Smeagol and goes with new friends. Master can wait. Smeagol hasn't finished.
There's no time, said Frodo. Bring fish with you. Come.
No, must finish fish.
Smeagol, said Frodo desperately, Precious will be angry. I shall take Precious, and I shall say, make him swallow the bones and choke. Never taste fish again. Come. Precious is waiting. There was a sharp hiss. Presently, out of the darkness, Gollum came crawling on all fours, like an erring dog called to heel. He had a half-eaten fish in his mouth, and another in his hand. He came close to Frodo, almost nose to nose, and sniffed at him. His pale eyes were shining. Then he took the fish out of his mouth and stood up.
Nice, master, he whispered. Nice, hobbit. Come back to poor Smeagol. Good Smeagol comes. Now, let's go. Go quickly, yes. Through the trees while the faces are dark. Yes, come, let's go.
Yes, we'll go soon, said Frodo. But not at once. I will go with you as I promised. I promise again. But not now. You are not safe yet. I will save you, but you must come trust me.
We must trust, master, said Gollum doubtfully. Why? Why not go at once? Where is the other one? The cross, rude hobbit. Where is he?
Away up there, said Frodo, pointing to the waterfall. I am not going without him. We must go back to him. His heart sank. This was too much like trickery. He did not really fear that Faramir would allow Gollum to be killed, but he would probably make him a prisoner and bind him, and certainly what Frodo did would seem a treachery to the poor, treacherous creature. It would probably be impossible ever to make him understand or believe that Frodo had saved his life in the only way he could. What else could he do? To keep faith, as near as might be, with both sides. Come, he said, or the Precious will be angry. We are going back now, up the stream. Go on, you go in front. Gollum crawled along close to the brink for a little way, snuffling and suspicious. Presently he stopped and raised his head.
Something's here, he said. Not a hobbit.
Suddenly he turned back. A green light was flickering in his bulging eyes.
Master! Master! He hissed. Wicked, tricksy, false.
He spat and stretched out his long arms with white snapping fingers. At that moment, the great black shape of Anborn loomed up behind him and came down on him. A large, strong hand took him in the nape of the neck and pinned him. He twisted round like lightning, all wet and slimy as he was, wiggling like an eel, biting and scratching like a cat. But 2 more men came out of the shadows. "Hold still," said one, "or we'll stick you full of pins as a hedgehog. Hold still." Gollum went limp, and began to whine and weep. They tied him, none too gently. "Easy, easy," said Frodo. "He has no strength to match you. Don't hurt him if you can help it. He'll be quieter if you don't. Smeagol, they won't hurt you. I'll go with you, and you shall come to no harm, not unless they kill me too. Trust, master." Gollum turned and spat at him. The men picked him up, put a hood over his eyes, and carried him off. Frodo followed them, feeling very wretched. They went through the opening behind the bushes, and back, down the stairs and passages into the cave. 2 or 3 torches had been lit. Men were stirring. Sam was there, and he gave a queer look at the limp bundle that the men carried. "Got him?" he said to Frodo. "Yes. Well, no, I didn't get him. He came to me because he trusted me at first, I'm afraid. I did not want him tied up like this. I hope he'll be all right, but I hate the whole business." "Oh, so do I," said Sam. "And nothing will ever be right where that piece of misery is." A man came and beckoned to the hobbits and took them to the recess at the back of the cave. Faramir was sitting there in his chair, and the lamp had been rekindled in its niche above his head. He signed to them to sit down on the stools beside him. "Bring wine for the guests," he said, "and bring the prisoner to me." The wine was brought, and then Anborn came carrying Gollum. He removed the cover from Gollum's head and set him on his feet, standing behind him to support him. Gollum blinked, hooding the malice of his eyes with their heavy pale lids. A very miserable creature he looked, dripping and dank, smelling of fish. He still clutched one in his hand. His sparse locks were hanging like rank weed over his bony brows. His nose was snivelling. Loose us, he said. "The cord hurts us. Yes, it does. It hurts us. We've done nothing." "Nothing," said Faramir, looking at the wretched creature with a keen glance, but without any expression in his face, either of anger or pity or wonder. "Nothing? Have you never done anything worthy of binding or of worse punishment? However, that is not for me to judge, happily. But tonight you have come where it is death to come. The fish of this pool are dearly bought." Gollum dropped the fish from his hand.
"Don't want fish," he said.
"The price is not set on the fish," said Faramir. "Only to come here and look on the pool bears the penalty of death. I have spared you so far at the prayer of Frodo here, who says that of him at least you have deserved some thanks. But you also must satisfy me. What is your name? Whence do you come? And whither do you go? What is your business?"
"We are lost, said Gollum. "No name, no business, no precious nothing. Only empty, only hungry. Yes, we are hungry. A few little fishes, nasty, bony little fishes for a poor creature, and they say death. So wise they are, so just, so very just."
"Not very wise," said Faramir, "but just, yes, perhaps, as just as our little wisdom allows. Unloose him, Frodo." Faramir took a small nail-knife from his belt and handed it to Frodo. Gollum, misunderstanding the gesture, squealed and fell down. "Now, Smeagol," said Frodo, "you must trust me. I will not desert you. Answer truthfully if you can. It will do you good, not harm." He cut the cords on Gollum's wrists and ankles and raised him to his feet. "Come hither," said Faramir. "Look at me. Do you know the name of this place? Have you been here before?" Slowly Gollum raised his eyes and looked unwillingly into Faramir's. All light went out of them, and he stared, bleak and pale for a moment, into the clear, unwavering eyes of the man of Gondor. There was a still silence. Then Boromir, Jesus Christ, what the hell? What was that slip of the tongue? My goodness. Oh, thank you, Alexander. I try my best. It makes me lightheaded, but I do my best. Then Gollum dropped his head and shrank down until he was squatting on the floor, shivering.
"We doesn't know, and we doesn't want to know," he whimpered. "Never came here, never come again."
"There are locked doors and closed windows in your mind, and dark rooms behind them," said Faramir. "Oh, okay. So for real, so for definite, Faramir can definitely, like, literally see into the minds of men. So I hadn't read this for such a long time. I thought the only example of Faramir having any supernatural powers was the bit where Gollum is hurt by lying to Faramir. But no, he literally looks into his mind, like literally. So Faramir also has mind powers, which must be great for his brother. We do miss him so much. I miss him so much. You've no idea. I keep thinking about it. I miss Boromir so much. Anyway, there are locked doors and closed windows in your mind, and dark rooms behind them, said Faramir. But in this I judge that you speak the truth. It is well for you. What oath will you swear never to return, and never to lead any living creature hither by word or sign?
Master knows,
said Gollum with a sidelong glance at Frodo.
Yes, he knows. We will promise, Master, if he saves us. Yes, promise to it. Yes.
He crawled to Frodo's feet.
Save us. Nice, Master, he whined. Smeagol promises to Precious, promises faithfully, never come again, never speak, no, never, no, Precious, no.
Are you satisfied? Said Faramir. Yes, said Frodo. At least you must either accept this promise or carry out your law. You will get no more. But I promised that if he came to me he will not be harmed, and I would not be proved faithless. Faramir sat for a moment in thought. Very good, he said at last. I surrender you to your master, to Frodo, son of Drogo. Let him declare what he will do with you. But, Lord Faramir, said Frodo, bowing, you have not yet declared your will concerning the said Frodo, and until that is made known, he cannot shape his plans for himself or his companions. Your judgment was postponed until the morning, but that is now at hand. Then I will declare my doom, said Faramir. As for you, Frodo, in so far as lies in me under higher authority, I declare you free in the realm of Gondor to the furthest of its ancient bounds, save only that neither you nor any that go with you have leave to come to this place unbidden. This doom shall stand for a year and a day, and then cease, unless you shall, before that term comes to unless you shall, before that term, come to Minas Tirith, and present yourself to the lord and steward of the city. Then I will entreat him to confirm what I have done, and to make it lifelong. In the meantime, whomsoever you take under your protection shall be under my protection, and under the shield of Gondor. Are you answered? Faramir bowed low. I am answered, he said, and I place myself at your service, if that is of any worth to one so high and honourable. It is of great worth, said Faramir. And now do you take this creature, this Smeagol, under your protection? I do take Smeagol under my protection, said Frodo. Sam sighed audibly. And not at the courtesies of which, as any hobbit would, he thoroughly approved. Indeed, in the Shire such a matter would have required a great many more words and bows. Then I say to you, said Faramir, turning to Gollum, you are under doom of death, but while you walk with Frodo you are safe for your part. Yet if ever you be found by any man of Gondor astray without him, that doom shall fall, and may death find you swiftly within Gondor or without, if you do not serve him well. Now answer me, whither would you go? You were his guide, he says. Whither were you leading him? Gollum made no reply. This I will not have secret, said Faramir. Answer me, or I will reverse my judgment. Still Gollum did not answer. I will answer for him, said Frodo. He brought me to the Black Gate, as I asked, but it was impassable. There is no open gate into the nameless land, said Faramir. Seeing this, we turned aside and came to the southward road, Frodo continued. But he said that there is, or there may be, a path near to Minas Ithil. Minas Morgul, said Faramir. I do not know clearly, said Frodo, but the path climbs, I think, up into the mountains on the northern side of that vale, where the old city stands. It goes up to a high cleft, and then so down to that which is beyond. Do you know the name of that high pass? Said Faramir. No, said Frodo. It is called Cirith Ungol. Gollum hissed sharply, and began muttering to himself. Is that not the name? Said Faramir, turning to him. No, said Gollum, and then he squealed, as if something had stabbed him.
Yes, we heard the name once, but what does the name matter to us? Master says he must get in, so we must try some way. There's no other way to try, no.
No other way? Said Faramir. How do you know that? And who has explored all the confines of that dark realm? He looked long and thoughtfully at Gollum. Presently he spoke again. Take this creature away, Anborn. Treat him gently, but watch him. And do not you, Smeagol, try to dive into the falls. The rocks have such teeth there as would slay you before your time. Leave us now, and take your fish. Anborn went out, and Gollum went cringing before him. The curtain was drawn across the recess. I have something to talk about, just briefly, but just because it's just me being really self-satisfied. You will never, it's just so common. It's just so common that we get the whole concept of Faramir. Oh, Denethor never listens to him. Oh, if Faramir asks for it, it might as well not be asked for, because he'll never grant anything Faramir wants. But Faramir literally, like, creates a whole law here, and then tells Frodo that if he comes to Minas Tirith, he'll probably be able to persuade Denethor to continue that, if he's so confident, how... Obviously, this is not... Obviously, he's perfectly confident that he can persuade his father to do things. You all know. You get it. It just aggravates me. Denethor listens to what Faramir says. Of course he does. He's literally made him his captain. Why wouldn't he listen to him? Why would he place him in this position if he wasn't trustworthy? And he didn't trust Faramir to a certain extent just because they have disagreement. We will continue. Frodo, I think you do very unwisely in this, said Faramir. I do not think you should go with this creature. It is wicked. No, not altogether wicked, said Faramir. Not wholly, perhaps, said Faramir, but malice eats it like a canker, and the evil is growing. He will lead you to no good. If you will part with him, I will give you safe conduct and guidance to any point on the borders of Gondor that he may name. He would not take it, said Frodo. He would follow after me as he long has done, and I have promised many times to take him under my protection and to go where he led. You would not ask me to break faith with him? No, said Faramir, but my heart would. For it seems less evil to counsel another man to break troth than to do so oneself, especially if one sees a friend bound unwittingly to his own harm. But no, if he will go with you, you must now endure him. But I do not think you are holden to go to Cirith Ungol, of which he has told you less than he knows. That much I perceived clearly in his mind. Do not go to Cirith Ungol. Where then shall I go, said Frodo, back to the Black Gate and deliver myself up to the guard? What do you know against this place that makes its name so dreadful? Nothing certain, said Faramir. We of Gondor do not ever pass east of the road in these days, and none of us younger men has ever done so, nor has any of us set foot upon the mountains of Shadow. Of them we know only old report, and the rumour of bygone days. But there is some dark terror that dwells in the passes above Minas Morgul. If Cirith Ungol is named, old men and masters of law will blanch and fall silent. The valley of Minas Morgul passed into evil very long ago, and it was a menace and a dread while the banished enemy dwelt yet far away, and Ithilien was still for the most part in our keeping. As you know, the city was once a strong place, proud and fair, Minas Ithil, the twin sister of our own city, but it was taken by fell men, whom the enemy in his first strength had dominated, and who wandered homeless and masterless after his fall. It is said that their lords were men of Numenor, who had fallen into dark wickedness. To them the enemy had given rings of power, and he had devoured them. Living ghosts they were become, terrible and evil. After his going they took Minas Ithil and dwelt there, and they filled it, and all the valley about with decay. It seemed empty, and was not so. For a shapeless fear lived in the ruined walls. 9 lords there were, and after the return of their master, which they aided and prepared in secret, they grew strong again. Then the 9 riders issued forth from the gates of horror, and we could not withstand them. Do not approach their citadel. You would be espied. It is a place of sleepless malice, full of lidless eyes. Do not go that way. But where else will you direct me? Said Frodo. You cannot yourself, you say, guide me to the mountains, nor even over them. But over the mountains I am bound, by solemn undertaking to the council, to find a way, or perish in the seeking. And if I turn back, refusing the road in its bitter end, Where then shall I go among elves or men? Would you have me come to Gondor with this thing? The thing that drove your brother mad with this desire? What spell would it work in Minas Tirith? Shall there be 2 cities of Minas Morgul, grinning at each other across a dead land filled with rottenness? I would not have it so, said Faramir. Then what would you have me do? Sorry, I have a puppy. I have a puppy who wants to be on my bed. What have people been saying? Well, no. So Denethor has a very clear problem with one thing that Faramir does here. Yes, he let the ring pass into Mordor. So this is the point. Frodo was saying, actually, Faramir here is saying, actually, I would quite like, he's not totally. He would quite like to take Frodo with him to Minas Tirith so that he could protect him, is his idea. Frodo then says, no, but the ring is gonna do something bad shit will happen, etc., etc. And Faramir in this instance, Faramir decides to trust Frodo over what he knows his father would prefer, which is exactly that, to bring the ring to Minas Tirith so they can protect it. So that's the one thing that Denethor doesn't agree with. But even in that instance, and though Faramir definitely knows that that's the case, he knows that his father would rather this happen, he still believes that even though they are disagreeing on this one thing, even if that was being said, if Frodo returned to Minas Tirith and said, hello, I am presenting myself to the steward, Denethor would continue that. The rule that, the law that Faramir just made, which was that Frodo was to be protected by everybody. He basically said, if you come to Minas Tirith, we will protect you with our lives, and my father will agree to do this, and all of that, etc. So again, where is this father who hates his son and doesn't trust him? Where is he? I don't find him. I don't see him. I just find a father who's frustrated with his son, just as I am, also similarly frustrated with his son. Yes. Anyway. So yes, Faramir says, I would not have it so. And then Frodo asks, then what would you have me do? I actually quite like this. Frodo is nice and assertive to Faramir as well, which is nice. I know not. Only I would not have you go to death or to torment, and I do not think that Mithrandir would have chosen this way. Yet, since he is gone, I must take such paths as I can find, and there is no time for long searching, said Frodo. It is a hard doom and a hopeless errand, said Faramir. But at the least, remember my warning. Beware of this guide, Smeagol. He has done murder before. I read it in him. He sighed. Well, so we meet in part, Frodo, son of Drogo. You have no need of soft words. I do not hope to see you again on any other day under this sun. But you shall go now with my blessing upon you and upon all your people. Rest a little while food is prepared for you. I would gladly learn how this creeping Smeagol became possessed of the thing of which we speak, and how he lost it. But I will not trouble you now. If ever beyond hope you return to the lands of the living, and we retell our tales, sitting by a wall in the sun, laughing at old grief, you shall tell me then. Until that time, or some other time beyond the vision of the seeing stones of Numenor, farewell. He rose and bowed low to Frodo, and drawing the curtain passed out into the cave. Yeah, no, even at the this is the frustration I have. Like, people act like Denethor is so inscrutable about why he's mean to Faramir. Like he literally tells you, we'll get to this in the Return of the King. We're jumping past so far forward. But the point is that he literally tells you. He literally has an argument with Faramir where he lays out all of his issues with what Faramir has done. And he lays out all of the worries, and he's totally right. The other thing is, he's totally right. Like, Denethor is completely right. The reason that Faramir does this ultimately is because Frodo elicits Gandalf's name. And Faramir is so enamored with Gandalf and wants to do everything that he would want him to do. And by Frodo saying this, he is eliciting that point. So yes, this is the reason that Faramir does this in the end is because Gandalf would have told him to do it. And And that's what Denethor says. He says you're literally doing this because you want Mithrandir's approval, and I find that really frustrating because Gandalf has been a fair weather friend at best, and still is literally sitting at my table and still will not tell me everything that's going on, despite the fact that I could help him if he just fucking said anything. Like, if he just fucking, if he just tried to talk to me at all, ever, about important things. Or didn't demand that I tell him everything that I know, whilst he keeps me in the dark all the time. Anyway. We still gotta go. So, Journey to the Crossroads, Chapter 7. Oh! We're so close to the end of the Two Towers. We have fucking, 50 pages to go. Frodo and Sam returned to their beds, and lay there in silence, resting for a little, while men bestirred themselves and the business of the day began. After a while, water was brought to them, and then they were led to a table where food was set for three. Faramir broke his fast with them. He had not slept since the battle on the day before, yet he did not look weary. When they had finished, they stood up. May no hunger trouble you on the road, said Faramir. You have little provision, but some small stores of food fit for travellers I have ordered to be stowed in your packs. You will have no lack of water as you walk in Ithilien, but do not drink any stream that flows from Imlag Morgul, the Valley of Living Death. This also I must tell you, my scouts and watchers have all returned, even some that have crept within sight of the Morannon. They all find a strange thing. The land is empty. Nothing is on the road, and no sound of foot or horn or bowstring is anywhere to be heard. A waiting silence broods above the nameless land. I do not know what this portends, but the time draws swiftly to some great conclusion. Storm is coming. Hasten while you may. If you are ready, let us go. The sun will soon rise above the shadow. The hobbits' packs were brought to them, a little heavier than they had been, and also 2 stout staves of polished wood, shod with iron, and with carven heads through which ran plated leathern thongs. I have no fitting gifts to give you at our parting, said Faramir, but take these staves. They may be of service to those who walk on or climb in the wild. The men of the White Mountain use them, though these have been cut down to your height and newly shod. They are made of the fair tree Lebethron, beloved of the Woodwrights of Gondor, and a virtue has been set upon them of finding and returning. May that virtue not wholly fail under the shadow into which you go. Okay, but Lebethron would? No, Lebethron is different, isn't it? Lebethron is... Because the Malon trees? I'm literally forgetting all the names of the goddamn trees. The wood are they Lebethron in Lorien? Somebody help me. Is it Lebethron in Lorien, or is it just a new wood that we haven't found yet? That we haven't met? Damn, it's just completely going out of my head. Yeah, it's Malon and Lorien. Okay. So Lebethron wood is actually literally like a tree that's in Gondor. Yeah, I guess it must be new. I mean, it's not new to me because it's fucking everywhere in Lord of the Rings Online. And it's actually quite low in the crafting levels. You have to find lots of Lebethron for like the 5th tier of crafting, which is quite low in the. But they had to keep going, and I bet they didn't expect to get any further. But anyway, yes. So Lebethron is just a new wood. Okay, so that's that mystery solved. Next mystery is a virtue has been set upon them of finding and returning. What does that mean? A spell? And he's like, I guess it's just a blessing, but he's mentioning it like it's like a good, like it's an important thing. Like, yes, we did this because it will be helpful, I think. Like, yeah, yeah. Oh my god, Faramir was the evil wizard in Gondor the whole time! Yes, Lord of the Rings Online has virtues, but they're kind of different. The virtues in is more like personality traits. Like you're either, you're empathetic or which is very funny to me because you can literally just switch them out. Like some days you decide to be empathetic because it gives you like plus 500,000 in healing, in combat, whatever, and then you're like, no, I need more strength, so more fortitude or whatever, and so you switch out to the wise one. You're like, well, I decided to be wise, not empathetic today. It's quite funny the way Lord of the Rings does virtues, but here, no, this is like a literal like a spell. He's calling it's a virtue, but it is like it sounds like a spell to me. Sounds like a spell to me, Faramir. But that's cool. I like that. It's a new thing for me to add into my knowledge of Gondor and the way it works, and the things that are in it. Any morsel, any tidbit that I am allowed to get, I can snaffle. So Gondor does virtues, does it? I love this. I shall tuck it away safely in my knowledge for later. Probably make a post about it. Yeah, exactly. That's my point. It's not that it's not just like he's not just saying like, oh, it's a blessing, like it's more superstitious. Faramir doesn't like superstitions. I assume it's what he's doing. It's literally like something that he genuinely believes will help. Like it does work for sure. So anyway, never mind. The hobbits bowed low. Most gracious host, said Frodo, it was said to me by Elrond Half-Elven that I should find friendship upon the way, secret and unlooked for. Certainly I looked for no such friendship as you have shown. To have found it turns evil to great good. Yeah, I mean, yes, but exactly. Like when Numenorians do it, it's evil magic. When Gondor does it, it's virtue. But I mean, I guess there are different ways of doing magic. That the Black Numenorians do use other ways of magic that they're not so. But then again, if they put a virtue on. Okay, well now I just want to know. Yeah, like okay, so they carve the wood and put a virtue in it, but no, it sounds like they've just done it because they had the Lebethron staves, and then they cut them down to their size and then shod them, and then the way Faramir says it, it says they have failed through the left and blood of the rights of Gondor, and a virtue has been set upon them of finding and returning. So, and that specific virtue is very important. The Black Numenorians probably sprinkled their stars with blood, sure. Yes, probably. But they kill a slave and then, all that stuff. All the stuff that we have, that the Black Numenorians have to be evil about. But yeah, it just sounds like he just did it. So how does this work? And who does it? And why? And how? And why and how and what? Explain it to me. Tolkien, explain! Tolkien, explain! Anyway. Now they made ready to depart. Gollum was brought out of some corner or hidey hole, and he seemed better pleased with himself than he had been, though he kept close to Frodo and avoided the glance of Faramir. Your guide must be blindfolded, said Faramir, but you and your servant Samwise I release from this if you wish. Gollum squealed and squirmed and clutched at Frodo when they came to bind his eyes, and Frodo said, I'll blindfold all three of us and cover up my eyes first, and then perhaps you will see that no harm is meant. This was done, and they were led from the cave of Henneth Anun. After they had passed the passages and stairs, they felt the cool morning air, fresh and sweet about them. Still blind, they went on for some little time, up and then gently down. At last, the voice of Faramir ordered them to be uncovered. They stood under the boughs of the woods again. No noise of the falls could be heard, for a long southward slope lay now between them and the ravine in which the stream flowed. To the west, they could see light through the trees, as if the world came there to a sudden end, at a brink looking out only onto sky. Here is the last parting of our ways, said Faramir. If you take my counsel, you will not turn eastward yet. Go straight on, for thus you will have the cover of the woodland for many miles. On your west is an edge where the land falls into the great vales, sometimes suddenly and sheer, sometimes in long hillsides. Keep near to this edge and the skirts of the forest. In the beginning of your journey you may walk under daylight, I think. The land dreams in a false peace, and for a while all evil is withdrawn. Fare you well, while you may. He embraced the hobbits then. Oh my! And after the manner of his people, stooping and placing his hands upon their shoulders and kissing their foreheads. Oh, how interesting! Oh, I get new things. I'm getting a lot of new things today. Yes, a special type of Godor and hugging. I love it. Good. I'm getting so many new things. I get to keep and stow them in my lovely little Gondorian hoard. Gondorian cave hoard. Yes. So, okay. The manner, after the manner of his people, oh, I love it. I love it. Superb. Go with the goodwill of all good men, he said. They bowed to the ground. Then he turned, and without looking back, he left them, and went to his two guards that stood at a little distance. They marvelled to see with what speed these green-clad men now moved, vanishing almost in the twinkling of an eye. The forest where Faramir had stood seemed empty and drear, as if a dream had passed. I know you're in love with him, Tolkien, but that was a little much. A little on the nose there. I know you actually are in love with Faramir, but calm it down. Just a smidge. I know you, I walked with you once upon a dream. It's just a lot. Yes, the whole hug and a whole thing, and oh, I love it. Frodo sighed and turned back southward, as if to mark his disregard of all such courtesy. Gollum was scrabbling in the mould at the foot of a tree. Hungry again already, thought Sam. Well, now for it again.
Have they gone at last? Said Gollum. Nuss, ye wicked men. Smeagol's neck still hurts him. Yes, it does. Let's go.
Yes, let's go, said Frodo. But if you can only speak ill of those who showed you mercy, keep silent.
Oh, nice master, said Gollum. Smeagol was only joking. Always forgives, he does. Yes, even nice master's little tricks is... Oh, yes, nice master. Nice Smeagol.
Frodo and Sam did not answer. Hoisting their packs and taking their staves in hand, they passed on into the woods of Ithilien. Twice that day they rested and took a little of the food provided by Faramir, dried fruits and salted meat, enough for many days, and bread enough to last while it was still fresh. Gollum ate nothing. The sun rose and passed overhead unseen, and began to sink, and the light through the trees to the west grew golden, and always they walked in cool green shadow, and all about them was silence. The birds seemed all to have flown away, or to have fallen dumb. Darkness came early to the silent woods, and before the fall of night they halted, weary, for they had walked 7 leagues or more from Hennifer noon. Frodo lay and slept away the night on the deep mould beneath an ancient tree. Sam beside him was more uneasy. He woke many times, but there was never a sign of Gollum, who had slipped off as soon as the others had settled to rest. Whether he had slept by himself in some hole nearby, or had wandered restlessly prowling through the night, he did not say, but he returned with the first glimmer of light, and roused his companions.
Must get up. Yes, they must, he said. Long ways to go still, south and east. Hobbits must make haste.
That day passed much as the day before had gone, except that the silence had seemed deeper. The air grew heavy, and it began to be stifling under the trees. It felt as if the thunder was brewing. Gollum often paused, sniffing the air, and then he would mutter to himself and urge them to greater speed. At the third stage of the day's march, the third stage of the day's march drew on, and afternoon waned, the forest opened out, and the trees became larger and more scattered. Great ilexes of huge girth stood dark and solemn in wide glades, with here and there among the hoary ash trees, and giant oaks just putting out their brown-green buds. About them lay long lawns of green grass, dappled with celandine and anemones, white and blue, now folded for sleep, and there were acres populous with the leaves of woodland hyacinths. Already their sleek bell stems were thrusting through the mould. No living creature, beast or bird, was to be seen, but in these open places Gollum grew afraid, and they walked now with caution, flitting from one long shadow to another. Light was fading fast when they came to the forest end. There they sat under an old gnarled oak that sent its roots twisting like snakes down a steep crumbling bank. A deep dim valley lay before them. On its further side the woods gathered again, blue and grey under the sullen evening, and marched on southwards. To the right the mountains of Gondor glowed, remote in the west, under a fire-flecked sky. To the left lay darkness, the towering walls of Mordor, and out of that darkness the long valley came, falling steeply in an ever-widening trough towards the Anduin. At its bottom ran a hurrying stream. Frodo could hear its stony voice coming up through the silence. No, I actually don't think I don't think Aragorn does kiss Boromir's brow in the book. Wait. He definitely does something. Damn, I don't have the Fellowship to hand. Wait, no, I'm so sorry. It's not in the Fellowship. Hang on. We can sell this very quickly. Very quickly. No, he does. He takes his hand, kisses his brow. He doesn't do it, yeah. Yeah, no, but he doesn't do it in the kind of way that, like, he's not doing it as a farewell. He does it more like a comfort, which is quite sweet of him. Like, he's more like because he says no and then takes his hand and then kisses his brow. You have conquered, you have gained such a victory. Be it, oh, I suppose actually, it is in farewell, isn't it? Because he knows that he's dying, so he says, be at peace. Yeah, so yes, so Aragorn has held this. No, I think, yeah, I would say that maybe the, and actually, no, wait, obvious, no, I'm totally wrong. Yes, I'm totally wrong. Of course, Aragorn would have known this custom because he lived in Gondor for, like, it could be 10 years, it could be 1 year, we can't tell. I go generally for about 5 years that he lives in Gondor, just simply because. Yes, he remembered one bit of Gondor. I'm sure he remembers more of it. I'm sure Aragorn genuinely has a lot of Gondorian culture memorized from when he was living there. But that doesn't mean that he gets to just decide that he then can just be the king. You know how I feel about this. Anyway, but yes. So all right. I'm allowed to have an emotion about this. That's actually quite sweet. Aragorn knew that the custom of parting in Gondor is to kiss his brow. So, all right. This was it's tragic that Kaz isn't here for me to say this and for him to feel such success. It's dreadful. I can't believe that Kaz is missing out on this moment, but I'm saying it here and now. All right. After a long time of me finding only irritation with the way Aragorn behaves at Boromir's deathbed, now this is sweet. I'm having an emotion about Aragorn that is positive and tender. So we'll quickly move on before it settles too heavily. Where were we? Yeah, falling in the steep, ever widening trough toward the Anduin. At its bottom ran a hurrying stream, on that, stony voice coming up through the silence, and beside it on the hither side of a road went winding down like a pale ribbon, down into chill grey mists that no gleam of sunset touched. There it seemed to Frodo that he descried far off, floating, as it were, on a shadowy sea, the high dim tops and broken pinnacles of old towers, forlorn and dark. He turned to Gollum. "Do you know where we are?" he said.
Yes, master, dangerous places. This is the road from the Tower of the Moon. Master, down to the ruined city by the shores of the river. The ruined city, yes, very nasty place, full of enemies. We shouldn't have taken the men's advice. Hobbits have come a long way out of the path. Must go east now, away up there.
He waved his skinny arm towards the darkling mountains.
And we can't use this road. Oh no, cruel peoples come this way, down from the tower.
Frodo looked down onto the road. At any rate, nothing was moving on it now. It appeared lonely and forsaken, running down to empty ruins in the mist. But there was an evil feeling in the air, as if things might indeed be passing up and down that eyes could not see. Frodo shuddered as he looked again at the distant pinnacles now dwindling into night, and the sound of the water seemed cold and cruel. The voice of Morgul Duin, the polluted stream that flowed from the Valley of the Wraiths. It's a bit on the nose. They did just go ahead and just take Anduin and then just put Morgul in front of it. What shall we do? He said. We have walked long and far. Shall we look for some place in the woods behind where we can lie hidden?
No good hiding in the dark, said Gollum. It's in day that hobbits must hide now. Yes, in day.
Oh, come, said Sam. We must rest for a bit, even if we get up again in the middle of the night. There'll still be hours of dark then. Time enough for you to take us a long march if you know the way. Gollum reluctantly agreed to this, and he turned back towards the trees, working eastwards for a while along the straggling edges of the wood. He would not rest on the ground so near the evil road, and after some debate they all climbed up into the crotch of a large holm oak, whose thick branches springing together from the trunk made a good hiding place and fairly comfortable refuge. Night fell, and it grew altogether dark under the canopy of the tree. Frodo and Sam drank a little water and ate some bread and dried fruit, but Gollum at once curled up and went to sleep. The hobbits did not shut their eyes. It must have been a little after midnight when Gollum woke up. Suddenly they were aware of his pale eyes, unlidded and gleaming at them. He listened and sniffed, which seemed, as they had noticed before, his usual method of discovering the time of night.
Are we rested? Have we had beautiful sleep? He said. Let's go.
We aren't and we haven't, growled Sam, but we'll go if we must. It's Kaz, hello! You just missed me being nice to Aragorn. You just literally just missed me being nice to Aragorn. So you'll have to have to watch it back again. But don't worry. That's I'm mainly doing this to keep going. Yes, you did miss Aragorn positivity, and I will not say it again. So on we go. To catch you up, we've done the Forbidden Pool. Gollum's been captured, then left free, and now they're going off on their way to Minas Morgul. Where are we? Gollum dropped at once from the branches of the tree onto all fours, and the hobbits followed more slowly. As soon as they were down, they went on again, with Gollum leading eastwards up the dark sloping land. They could see little for the night, so they could. Blah, blah, blah. Shut up, Cano! Oh! Wow. It's not even fucking called Minas Morgul until like the middle of the Shadow of War, which again, never mind. Shadow of Gollum. Well, it can't be the Shadow of Gollum because we meet Gollum in the fucking first hour of the first game. Anyway. They could see little, for the night was now so deep that they were hardly aware of the stems of trees before they stumbled against them. The ground became more broken, and walking was more difficult, but Gollum seemed in no way troubled. He led them through thickets and wastes of brambles, sometimes round the lip of a deep cleft or dark pit, sometimes down into black bush-shrouded hollows and out again. But if ever they went a little downward, always the further slope was longer and steeper. They were climbing steadily. At their first halt they looked back, and they could dimly perceive the roofs of the forest that they had left behind, lying like a vast, dense shadow, a darker night under a dark, blank sky. There seemed to be a great blackness looming slowly out of the east, eating up the faint, blurred stars. Later, the sinking moon escaped from the pursuing cloud, but it was ringed all about with a sickly yellow glare. At last Gollum turned to the hobbits.
Day soon, he said. Hobbits must hurry. Not safe to stay in the open in these places. Make haste.
He quickened his pace, and they followed him wearily. Soon they began to climb up to a great hogback of land. For the most part it was dark, with a thick growth of gorse and whortleberry, and long tough thorns, though here and there clearings opened, the scars of recent fires. The gorse bushes became more frequent as they got nearer to the top. Very old and tall they were, gaunt and leggy below, but thick above, and already putting out yellow flowers that glimmered in the gloom, and gave a faint sweet smell. So tall were the spiny thickets that the hobbits could walk upright under them, passing through long dry aisles carpeted with a deep, prickly mould. On the further edge of the broad hillback they stayed their march and crawled behind underneath a tangled knot of thorns. Their twisted boughs, stooping to the ground, were overridden by a clambering maze of old briars. Deep inside there was a hollow hall, raftered with dead branch and bramble, and roofed with the first leaves and shoots of spring. There they lay for a while, too tired yet to eat, and peering out through the holes in the covert, they watched for the slow growth of day. But no day came, only a dead brown twilight. In the east there was a dull red glare under the lowering cloud. It was not the red of dawn. Across the tumbled lands between, the mountains of the Etheldua frowned at them, black and shapeless. Below, where the night lay thick and did not pass away, above, with jagged tops and edges outlined hard and menacing against the fiery glow. Away to their right, a great shoulder of the mountain stood out, dark and black amid the shadows, thrusting westward. "Which way do we go from here?" asked Frodo. "Is that the opening of the Morgul Vale? The way over there beyond that black mass?" "Need we think about it yet?" said Sam. "Surely we are not going to move any more today, if day it is."
Perhaps not, said Gollum. But we must go soon, to the crossroads. Yes, to the crossroads. That's the way over there. Yes, master.
The red glare over Mordor died away. The twilight deepened as the great vapours rose in the east and crawled above them. "You haven't heard the Gollum voice yet? Oh, terrible! Well, thank you. I'm glad you like it. It's truly it's destroying my throat, but good. I'm glad you like it." The red glare over Mordor died. I'm about to say Moodoo. Moodoo. That sounds like a Sith. Moodoo. Yeah. The twilight deepened as great vapours. "Oh, thank you, Prince Imrahil. That's very kind of you." As great vapours rose in the east and crawled above them, Frodo and Sam took a little food and then lay down. But Gollum was restless. He would not eat any of their food, but he drank a little water and then crawled about under the bushes, sniffing and muttering. Then suddenly he disappeared. "Off hunting, I suppose," said Sam, and yawned. It was his turn to sleep first, and he was soon deep in a dream. He thought he was back in the Bag End garden, looking for something, but he had a heavy pack on his back, which made him stoop. It all seemed very reedy and rank somehow, and thorns and brackens were invading the beds down near the bottom hedge. "Good job of work for me, I can see, but I'm so tired." He kept on saying. Presently he remembered what he was looking for. "Oh, my pipe," he said, and with that he woke up. "Silly," he said to himself, as he opened his eyes and wondered why he was lying down under the hedge. It's in your pack all the time." Then he realized, first that the pipe might be in his pack, but he had no leaf, and next that he was hundreds of miles away from Bag End. He sat up. It seemed to be almost dark. Why had his master let him sleep out of turn, right on till evening? "Haven't you had no sleep, Frodo?" he said. "What's the time? It seems to be getting late." No, it isn't, said Frodo. But the day is getting darker instead of lighter, darker and darker. As far as I can tell, it isn't midday yet, and you've only slept for about 3 hours. I wonder what's up, said Sam. Is there a storm coming? If so, it's going to be the worst there ever was. We shall wish we were down a deep hole, not just stuck under a hedge. He listened. What's that? Thunder or drums? Or what is it? I don't know, said Frodo. It's been going on for a good while now. Sometimes the ground seems to tremble. Sometimes it seems to be the heavy air throbbing in your ears. Sam looked around. Where's Gollum? He said. Hasn't he come back yet? No, said Frodo. There's not been a sign or sound of him. Well, I can't abide him, said Sam. In fact, I've never taken anything on a journey that I have been less sorry to lose on the way. But it would be just like him, after coming all these miles, to go and get lost now, just when we need him most. That is, if he's ever going to be any use, which I doubt. You forget the marshes, said Frodo. I hope nothing has happened to him. And I hope he's up to no tricks. And anyway, I hope he doesn't fall into other hands, as you might say, because if he does, we shall soon be in for trouble. At that moment a rolling and rumbling noise was heard again, and louder and deeper. The ground seemed to quiver under their feet. I think we're in for trouble anyhow, said Frodo. I'm afraid our journey is drawing to an end. Maybe, said Sam, but where there's life there's hope, as my gaffer used to say, and need of victuals, as he most ways used to add. You have a bite, Mr. Frodo, and then a bit of sleep. The afternoon, as Sam supposed it must be called, wore on. Looking about from the covert, he could see only a dun, shadowless world, fading slowly into a featureless, colourless gloom. It felt stifling, but not warm. Frodo slept unquietly, turning and tossing, and sometimes murmuring. Twice Sam thought he heard him speaking Gandalf's name. The time seemed to drag interminably. That's what it is. Oh, Honeybee, hello! I'm glad you like the meme. Thank you for the meme. I mean, you missed the reason for it, but I think we all know why the meme is here. Suddenly Sam heard a hiss behind him, and there was Gollum on all fours, peering at them with gleaming eyes. Actually, you know what? We're gonna take a break. We're gonna take a break, just as Sam wakes up. So we'll be breaking for about let's say 10 minutes. So back in a jiffy. Right, we're back. We're back. How long was that? Got lost. I didn't come with my parents. But my mother wants to say she's very sorry for being on the internet last time. Although actually, anyway, yes, she's very sorry, very angry at me. She's not angry. The joke. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I think that's basically it. We can keep going for a bit. Probably not going to be that much longer. Probably going to be about. Listen, my mum is very sweet. really don't know another person that's as sweet as my mum. Oh, well, that's nice. She'll be happy to hear it. She'll be happy to hear it's all forgiven. Right. Let's keep going. Oh, I'll take off breaking for 11s. See, I'm doing it in the daytime, so I have more brain power, and yet also somehow less at the same time, which seems counterintuitive, but. Right. We've got yet more interesting differentiation between parts that Sam wrote and parts that Frodo must have had some influence in. Because this whole bit, obviously, we don't get Frodo's opinion at all. Like this whole bit with Frodo being asleep, like we get Sam's dream, but we don't know what actually happened whilst Frodo was awake. So it seems like Sam is mostly writing it now. Like nobody else is really writing it but Sam at this point. Where did we get to? Crossroads, more thy way, back end. Oh yes, the softest. Good afternoon, blah, blah. And there was Gollum on. Oh yes, suddenly Sam heard a hiss behind him, and there was Gollum on all fours, peering at them with gleaming eyes.
Wake up! Wake up! Wake up, sleepies! He whispered. Wake up! No time to lose. We must go. Yes, we must go at once. No time to lose.
Gollum appeared, yes. Sam stared at him suspiciously. He seemed frightened or excited. Go now? What's your little game? Blah, that didn't sound like Sam at all. Go now? What's your little game? How do you say game in a Devonshire accent? I don't know. It isn't time yet. It can't be tea time even. Leastways, not in decent places where there is a tea time.
Silly,
hissed Gollum.
We're not in decent places. Time's running short. Yes, running fast. No time to lose. We must go. Wake up, master. Wake up.
He clawed at Frodo, and Frodo, startled out of sleep, sat up suddenly and seized him by the arm. Gollum tore himself loose and backed away.
They mustn't be silly, he hissed. We must go. No time to lose.
And nothing more could they get out of him. Where he had been and what he thought was brewing to make him in such a hurry, he would not say. Sam was filled with deep suspicion and showed it, but Frodo gave no sign of what was passing in his mind. He sighed, hoisted his pack, and prepared to go out into the ever-gathering darkness. Very stealthily, Gollum had led them down the hillside, keeping under cover wherever it was possible and running, almost bent to the ground, across any open space. But the light was now so dim that even a keen-eyed beast of the wild could scarcely have seen the hobbits, hooded in their grey cloaks, nor heard them, walking as warily as the little people can. Without the crack of a twig or the rustle of a leaf, they passed and vanished. For about an hour they went on, silently, in single file, oppressed by the gloom and by the absolute stillness of the land, broken only now and again by the faint rumbling as of thunder far away, or drum beats in some hollow of the hills. Down from their hiding place they went, and then turning south they steered as straight a course as Gollum could find across a long broken slope that leaned up towards the mountains. Presently, not far ahead, looming up like a black wall, they saw a belt of trees. As they drew nearer, they became aware that these were of vast size, very, very ancient it seemed, and still towering high, though their tops were gaunt and broken, as if tempest and lightning blast had swept across them, but had failed to kill them or to shake their fathomless roots.
The crossroads, yes,
whispered Gollum, the first words that had been spoken since they left their hiding place.
We must go that way.
Turning eastward now, he led them up the slope, and then suddenly there it was before them, the southward road, winding its way about the outer feet of the mountains, until presently it plunged into the great ring of trees.
This is the only way, whispered Gollum. No paths beyond the road. No paths. We must go to the crossroads. But make haste. Be silent.
As furtively as scouts within the encampment of their enemies, they crept down onto the road, and stole along its westward edge under the stony bank, grey as the stones themselves, and sure-footed as hunting cats. At length they reached the trees, and found that they stood in a great roofless ring, open in the middle to the sombre sky, and the spaces between their immense boles were like the great dark arches of some ruined hall. In the very centre, 4 ways met. Behind them lay the road to the Morannon. Before them it ran out again upon its long journey south. To their right, the road from Old Osgiliath came climbing up, and crossing, passed out eastwards into darkness. The fourth way, the road they were to take. Standing there for a moment, filled with dread, Frodo became aware that a light was shining. He saw it glowing on Sam's face behind him. Turning towards it, he saw, beyond an arch of boughs, the road to Osgiliath running almost as straight as a stretched ribbon, down into the west. There, far away, beyond sad Gondor, now overwhelmed in shade, the sun was sinking, finding at last the hem of the great slow-rolling pall of cloud, and falling in an ominous fire towards the yet unsullied sea. The brief glow fell upon a huge sitting figure, still and solemn as the great stone kings of Argonath. The years had gnawed it, and violent hands had maimed it. Its head was gone, and in its place was set in mockery a round, rough-hewn stone, rudely painted by savage hands in the likeness of a grinning face, with one large red eye in the midst of its forehead. Upon its knees and mighty chair, and all about the pedestal, were idle scrawls mixed with the foul symbols of the maggot folk of Mordor used. Ah, the maggot folk of Mordor. Now isn't that a word to just a line to just add in there, with no explanation given? Now I think that's how they got the Pale Folk in Lord of the Rings Online. That must be where they come from. Suddenly, caught by the level beams, Frodo saw the old king's head. It was lying rolled away by the roadside. "Look, Sam," he said, startled into speech. "Look, the king's got a crown again." The eyes were hollow, and the carven beard was broken, but about the high, stern forehead there was a coronal of silver and gold. A trailing plant with flowers that, like small white stars, had bound itself across the brows, as if in reverence for the fallen king, and in the crevices of his stony hair yellow stone crop gleamed. "They cannot conquer forever," said Frodo, and then suddenly the brief glimpse was gone. The sun dipped and vanished, and as if at the stuttering of a lamp, black night fell. Right, we're at Chapter 8, The Stairs of Cirith Ungol. Yes, the new head has one eye. Well, no, I mean that's the point, isn't it? Like what they intended to do was like there were orcs and other Mordor people who arrived there, and then they chopped off the head of, I only imagine this is Anarion. They chopped off his head, and then oh my god, I just went down to 70 kilobytes per second. That is a dramatic drop and very frightening, but never mind. Yes, they chopped off the head of Anarion, and then they stuck a rock on the top that was meant to be Sauron, right? Like I assume that was the point. F. Yes, F in the chat for my KBS ratio. Yeah, we're okay. It's like it just did a really weird little dip there for no apparent reason. kind of hovering around the 200s, which is a little bit more concerning. Can you all still hear me? Are we still good? Still alright? I think. Then maybe he's a Cyclops. Well, a Cyclops. I mean, okay, all right. Well, I'm glad we're all good. We've got a bit of a delay. That's not too bad though. The delay is not too bad. We're still basically. Yeah, we're getting really close to the end of this book. So I think I'll go on for just a little while longer. Just get us up the Cyclops were great craft, but yes, they were. Well, then wouldn't they make their heads less crude? Better design-wise. What, that it's a Cyclops? I'm not sure what you're getting at, I'm afraid. Let's keep going. The Stairs of Kirith Ungol. Gollum was tugging at Frodo's cloak and hissing with fear and impatience.
We must go, he said. We mustn't stand here. Make haste.
With a statue of Beavanarian if it's an amphibian. I mean, yes, because surely that... I mean, I get... I suppose Minas Ithil was Isildur's city? No, because was Minas Ithil Isildur's city? Wait, I've completely forgotten. Wasn't it not? I like basically because it was okay. Let me remember. So they all Elendil landed in the north, and he made Elendil landed in the north, and he made Arnor, and then the two sons landed in the south, and they both made Gondor together. Yes, and then Anarion built Minas Tirith, and Isildur built Minas Ithil. Minas Arnor and Minas Ithil. Okay, yes. So I suppose actually then yes, it would be Isildur, which is a lot. Tolkien. Like that's very specific of you. It's very specific of you. Although it might actually not be. It might not be either of them, because if it was that they built those and then it's so close to Osgiliath, it might be Elendil. And I suppose actually, with a beard, Elendil's usually the one with a beard. Although does Isildur have a beard in that thing? Can't remember. Anyway. Yes. So it could be either all three of them. But we'll go with it being Isildur just for you, Kaz. We'll go with it being Isildur just for you. And also, I suppose if the general tone of the moment is supposed to be about the king returning, so it would make more sense for it to be either Isildur or Elendil rather than Anarion, because Aragorn's not seeking his claim through Anarion's line, is he? Reluctantly, Frodo turned his back on the west and followed as his guide led him out into the darkness of the east. Yes, it also could be literally any king of Gondor, but if we're going by vibes, then you would imagine that it would be one of the original kings, and you would imagine that it would be either Elendil or Isildur, considering the vibes of the moment. But actually, it would be nice if it was one of the older kings. Like I suppose, like if it's in Osgiliath, it would make sense for it to be one of the Remendikil, maybe one of the not one of the ship kings. It probably isn't a Tanatar. Maybe a Tanatar's father. Not Narmakil, certainly. the scientific measurement of vibes. So I'm an expert. I have a PhD in the scientific measurement of vibes, and I say it's probably that guy. Yeah, it's definitely one of the older kings because they wouldn't be building many. It's going to be one of the really old kings, like back in before the plague at the least. Probably further back as well. Anyway, it's a good union. Listen, it's a good union of measurement. It's very necessary. People ignore the vibes too much. They left the ring of trees and crept along the road towards the mountains. This road too ran straight for a while, but soon it began to bend away southwards until it came right under the great shoulder of rock that they had seen from the distance. Black and forbidding it loomed above them, darker than the dark sky behind. Falling under its shadow, the road went on, and rounding it sprang east again and began to climb steeply. Me mic's having a wobble? Does it sound alright now?
I'm being ghosted? What?
Still? Is it alright? Oh yeah, I'm getting weird. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? What is going on? I'm not moving. No, what happened? Bags of sand? Oh no. That sounds bad. Yeah, it's being picked up on the... Oh, maybe this mic has finally kicked the bucket, as it were. Yeah, it just kind of keeps on doing a... I mean, I already knew I had ghosts in this house, but... Is it miserable to listen to? Well, okay. You know what? We've just reached the last chapter. Let's just leave it there then, and see if it settles itself out later. It got better? So the issue is I'm not doing anything, so it's hard to know what could be making it better or worse. It's fine now? Really? Nope, thought so. The issue is I'm literally not doing anything. And so, okay, you want me to continue? I'll just keep going. Alright. We'll just keep going. Maybe it'll just stop. I mean, I was vaguely fiddling with the... Okay, alright then. Black and forbidding, Frodo and Sam were plodding along with heavy hearts, no longer able to care greatly about their peril. Frodo's head was bowed. His burden was dragging him down again. As soon as the great crossroads had been passed, the weight of it, almost forgotten in Ithilien, had begun to grow once more. Now, feeling the way become steep before his feet, he looked wearily up, and then he saw it, even as Gollum had said that he would, the city of the Ringwraiths. He cowered against the stony bank. A long-tilted valley, a deep gulf of shadow, ran back far into the mountains. Upon the further side, some way within the valley's arms, high on a rocky seat upon the black knees of the Etheldua, stood the walls and tower of Minas Morgul. All was dark about it, earth and sky, but it was lit with light, not the imprisoned moonlight welling through the marble walls of Minas Ithil long ago. Tower of the moon, fair and radiant in the hollow of the hills. Paler indeed than the moon ailing in some slow eclipse was the light of it now, wavering and blowing like a noisome exhalation of decay. A corpse light, a light that illuminated nothing. In the walls and tower, windows showed, like countless black holes looking inward into emptiness, but the topmost course of the tower revolved slowly, first one way and then the other, a huge ghostly head leering into the night. Wait, what? The topmost course of the tower revolved slowly. Like a huge ghostly head leering into the night. What, like a fucking, like a lighthouse? Like a terrible bad lighthouse? It spins! Yeah, the tower spins! What? It revolves? It's a lighthouse. Right, even Lord of the Rings Online didn't have this. What? That's terrible. I'm missing it now. I miss my big revolving bad lighthouse. Ugh. Like an owl. Yeah. Yes. Yes, Gondorians made it. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Okay, this has been a great episode for me to being able to store things away like a little squirrel. Store all of my little Gondor snippets away. Oh, squirrel them away like a little terrible squirrel. No, you couldn't. In fact, actually, Jamie, you couldn't say that. Somebody banned him. God damn it, I've already made you a mod. The terrible abilities that I've given you. Peaches isn't here to ban you. It's terrible. I could do it, but I don't want to. Maybe you could say it was a blight house, I guess. You could say it was a blight house. You and your terrible evil laughter. How is it revolving? How is it revolving? Is it like it must be like slow, like gears and cogs to clocks? Does that mean that they have actual clocks? I'm gonna go crazy with this information now. I'm gonna go off the rails. How steampunk. Oh my god! Oh my god! Gondor is cool, and I like it a lot. I like Gondor, it's cool, and I like it a lot. It's very cool. Anyway. For a moment the three companions stood there, shrinking, staring up with unwilling eyes. Gollum was the first to recover. Again he pulled at their cloaks urgently, but he spoke no word. Almost he dragged them forward. Every step was reluctant, and time seemed to be slow in its pace. Steampunk Numenor, Gondor, yes. Yes. I can't escape it, and I love it. It's good. I like steampunk Numenor. It's cool and fun and good, and I like it a lot. I like the fact that Gondor is not how we perceive it to be. I've had enough. I've had enough of Middle Ages Europe. Gondor. I've had enough of it. No more. Get it out of my face. They have spinning clock towers. Shut up. So that between the and time seemed to slow its pace, so that between the raising of a foot and the setting of it down, minutes of loathing passed. So they came slowly to the white bridge. Here the road, gleaming faintly, passed over the stream in the midst of the in the midst of the valley, and went on, winding deviously up towards the city's gate, a black mouth opening at the outer circle of the northward walls. Wide flats lay on either bank, shadowy meads filled with pale white flowers. Luminous these were too, beautiful and yet horrible of shape, like the demented forms in an uneasy dream, and they gave forth a faint, sickening, carnal smell, like an odour of rottenness filled the air. From mead to mead this bridge sprang. Figures stood there at its head, carven with cunning in forms human and bestial, but all corrupt and loathsome. The water flowing beneath was silent, and it steamed, but the vapour that rose from it, curling and twisting about the bridge, was deadly cold. Frodo felt his senses reeling and his mind darkening. Then, suddenly, as if some force were at work, other than his own will, he began to hurry, tottering forward, his groping hands held out, his head lolling from side to side. Oh, this is terrifying! This is terrifying! Good lord! Good lord! It's me. Oh my goodness. Oh, lolling from side to side, both Sam and Gollum ran after him. Sam caught Frodo's in his arms as he stumbled and almost fell, right on the threshold of the bridge.
Not that way! No, not that way!
Whispered Gollum, but the breath between his teeth seemed to tear the heavy stillness like a whistle, and he cowered to the ground in terror. Hold up, Frodo, muttered Sam in Frodo's ear. Come back, not that way. Gollum says not, and for once I agree with him. Frodo passed his hand over his brow and wrenched his eyes away from the city on the hill. The luminous tower fascinated him, and he fought the desire that was on him to run up to the gleaming road towards its gate. At last, with an effort, he turned back, and as he did, he felt the ring resisting him, dragging him at the chain about his neck, and his eyes, too, as he looked away, seemed for the moment to have been blinded. The darkness before him was impenetrable. Gollum, crawling on the dark like a frightened animal, was already vanishing into the gloom, Sam supporting and guiding his stumbling master, following after him as quickly as he could. Not far from the near bank of the stream there was a gap in the stone wall beside the road. Through this they passed, and Sam saw that they were on a narrow path that gleamed faintly at first, as the main road did, until climbing above the meads of deadly flowers, it faded and went dark, winding its crooked way up into the northern side of the valley. Along this path the hobbits trudged, side by side, unable to see Gollum in front of them, except when he turned back to beckon them on. Then his eyes shone with a green-white light, reflecting the noisome Morgul sheen, perhaps, or kindled by some answering mood within. Of that deadly gleam, and of the dark eye-holes Frodo and Sam were always conscious, ever glancing... Of that gleam, and of the dark eye-holes Frodo and Sam were always conscious, ever glancing fearfully over their shoulders, and ever dragging their eyes back to find the darkening path. Slowly they laboured on. As they rose above the stench and vapours of the poisonous stream, their breath became easier and their heads clearer. But now their limbs were deadly tired, as if they had walked all night under a burden, or had been swimming long against a heavy tide of water. At last they could go on no further without a halt. Frodo stopped and sat down on a stone. Yeah, what does this mean? I wonder... Alright, what did the ring do just now? Is it small magic or ring magic? This is a good question. It's a good question. I mean, okay, if we go with the idea... So it's called Minas Morgul, which is the Tower of Dark Sorcery. So, and the river is bad, the flowers are bad river, bad flowers. The whole place is definitely geared with is like imbued with a great amount of very, very potent bad magic stuff. Magic bad shit is happening here. And I imagine if the ring is in a place of that, yes, that's a good shout. It probably is like exactly that, because the Nazgul are the ones who have done this. So, and they've made the whole place like this. So it makes sense that the ring, which is also drawn to them, like Frodo, like the whole thing with so basically what it's like is when is similar to when the ring had the power to try and compel Frodo to put it on, when they were on Weathertop. Compelled him to put it on. And so it's sort of the same thing. The ring is working with the powers that the Nazgul have to compel Frodo to put on the ring. And so, and now it's compelling them to go forward. And it is interesting that the ring at this point is literally like tugging him. But I guess the thing is that the stronger, the closer they get to these dark, terrible places, the stronger the ring is going to get. So it doesn't do it independently. No, I think it does. I think it does do it independently. I think it... Well... I mean... No. No, I don't think it does it independently. But in a sense, it sort of also chooses when to do it. In a sense. Like, It's kind of more like a reactive. It's not choosing, but it's reacting. Yeah, maybe. That's possible. More like magnet. Anyway. Yeah, more like a machine than a person. Yes. Yes, definitely. Definitely the ring is not a person, but it's certainly a machine, a very highly developed, well engineered machine that is that that has a goal, a program goal in mind, and can react to situations, and especially to the Nazgul, very very well, very efficiently. AI, yeah, it's an AI, yeah. But then again, AI makes it sound like it actually has intelligence, which it doesn't. It is just more a very well programmed, reactive program, I guess, if we want to keep talking about it in these terms. But yes, okay. Where do we get to? Frodo stopped and sat down on a stone. They had now climbed up to the top of a great hump of bare rock. Ahead of them there was a bay in the valley side, and round the head of this the path went on. No more than a wide ledge, with a chasm on the right, across the sheer southward face of the mountain, it crawled upwards, until it disappeared into the blackness above. "I must rest a while, Sam," whispered Frodo. "It's heavy on me, Sam. Very heavy. I wonder how far I can carry it. Anyway, I must rest before we venture on to that." He pointed to the narrow way ahead. "Shh! Shh!" hissed Gollum, hurrying back to them. "Shh!" His fingers were on his lips, and he shook his head urgently, tugging at Frodo's sleeve. He pointed towards the path, but Frodo would not move. "Not yet," he said. "Not yet." Weariness, and more than weariness, oppressed him. It seemed as if a heavy spell was laid on his mind and body. "I must rest," he muttered. At this, Gollum's fear and agitation became so great that he spoke again, hissing behind his hand, as if to keep the sound from unseen listeners in the air. "Not here. No, not rest here, fools. Eyes can see us. When they come to the bridge, they will see us. Come away. Climb, come." "Come, Mr. Frodo," said Sam. "He's right again. We can't stay here." "All right," said Frodo in a remote voice, as if one speaking half asleep. "I will try." Wearily he got to his feet. But it was too late. At that moment the rock quivered and trembled beneath them. The great rumbling noise, louder than ever before, rolled in the ground and echoed in the mountains. Then, with searing suddenness, there came a great red flash. Far beyond the eastern mountains it leapt into the sky and splashed the lowering clouds with crimson. In that valley of shadow and death, and cold, deathly light, it seemed unbearably violent and fierce. Peaks of stone and ridges, like notched knives, sprang out in staring black against the uprushing flame of Gorgoroth. There came a great crack of thunder, and Minas Morgul answered. There was a flare of livid lightnings, forks of blue flames springing up from that tower, and from the encircling hills into the sullen clouds. The earth groaned, and out of the city there came a cry, mingling with harsh, high voices as of birds of prey, and the shrill neighing of horses wild with rage and fear. There came a rending screech, shivering, rising swiftly to a piercing pitch beyond the range of hearing. The hobbits wheeled round towards it and cast themselves down, holding their hands upon their ears. As the terrible cry ended, falling back through a long, sickening, wailed silence, Frodo slowly raised his head. Across the narrow valley. Yes, it's well, it says Gorgoroth, so that's the not is Gorgoroth. Yes, Gorgoroth is the plains where Mount Doom is. So I think it is. I think yes, it must be that that it's the signal from Sauron. Yeah, I do actually think he can. I think Sauron can because he turns it off and on when he likes to, like almost like a forge. Like Mount Doom is more of a forge than a volcano. He comes in, he lights it again, the forges gleam, and then when he leaves, it's no longer lit. And I think he can manipulate Mount Doom certainly to erupt on command. It seems likely to me. Which makes the fact that there was just a Balrog under there, apparently, according to Shadow of War, still just absolutely just the craziest. Yes, it erupted. It erupted when it came back. Yes, basically. Yep, that's what it is. Anyway, this part is also terrifying. This whole part is very scary. He did a good job. But you know what? I had a brief, momentary flash of love for the films because the bit where the scream happens in Minas Morgul is so good. It is exactly like that. This pressurized like sound of air that goes and you can't hear it anymore, but you can kind of still know that it's there. Oh, so good. But so this episode we've had Aragorn good and film good. What will be next? Will I be mean to Denethor? There's a robin in the house. Oh no, there's a robin in Honeybee's house. I think it was like a week ago. I was just out. No, it was longer than that but a little while ago, I was lying in bed and it was just in the morning and I had my window open and a little wagtail, a little piebald wagtail just hopped in and fluttered about my room, perfectly happy with itself. I think it was trying to find a nest because it alighted on my dresser and looked up around at all of the I looked up and around at all of the niches and nooks in my bedroom to see if any of them were nest worthy. I think it decided against it, but it was there for a long time, and I was very happy with myself. I caught one photograph of it as it lighted on my mantelpiece before leaving. It was very fun. I think they could have definitely, surely they could have done that for the films. And also, they use CGI a lot for Minas Morgul too. In fact, did they make a model of Minas Morgul? I don't actually think they did. I think it was mostly CGI, and then they had it, and they could have made it rotate. There's no reason why it couldn't have rotated. They just didn't fucking read the book. Listen. They just didn't. Well, no, also, of course, no, sorry. They just looked at it and said, oh, that sounds not like medieval Europe. That sounds not like medieval Europe. We better not do that. I think, okay, maybe there was a model. Admittedly, I've forgotten since. Like, I know they made a model for Minas Tirith, for Osgiliath, for Helm's Deep, and for Orthanc. But even if they had made a model, I think they just thought it would be goofy, and so they didn't do it. And they are fools. They're fools because they could have made it rotate. Wouldn't have been hard. Anyway, what do we get to? As the terrible cry ended, falling back through a long, sickening wail to silence, Frodo slowly raised his head. Across the narrow valley, now almost on a level with his eyes, the wall of the evil city stood, and its cavernous gate, shaped like an open mouth with gleaming teeth. They made one of the whole valley. Oh, cool. That makes sense. I suppose Lord of the Rings Online did one thing that wasn't necessarily canon. They made Minas Morgul's valley much larger than it is, I think. Like, I think realistically speaking, it's quite a small valley, but they made it this kind of quite large, sprawling valley, and you have to ride quite a long way. But also, I can't say bad shit. I can't say bad shit about the Lord of the Rings Online's Minas Morgul edition because it was so fucking rad and so cool, and I loved every moment about it. Also, yes, absolutely, yes, the mouth, the teeth. Also, the way it's said here, it's almost as though it opened. It's almost as though it literally opened like a literal mouth, like softly, like not like gates that were opened. It's like what's the word? It's not like gates that were opened. It's like the mouth just opened wide, which is also creepy. And I'm sad they didn't do it. Did they? Now, here's a question: did Isildur do that first? Is Isildur put there, or did they break down? I actually know. Okay. Admittedly, I think in order to besiege the city, they would have had to have destroyed the original gate. So I imagine these are the replacements that the evil replacements that the evil people put there later. Yes, Lord of the Rings Online, the Minas Morgul expansion was so fucking good. I had such a good time with that whole expansion. I loved every bit of it. And they mentioned Boromir again in there. They had Boromir like have a moment that was really sweet, and I was having a good time with Boromir, which is unexpected. But yeah. Yes, you're right, Ragnos. The article was spot on. There's a lot about eating in this book. There's like all the other stuff about dumbass shit about the sexuality and the caves being vaginas, whatever. None of that. All of that dumb. The part where it was about the book being a lot about eating, spot on. Eating stuff, eating being good or bad, very good, very accurate. In the last Tolkien Society rundown, not the one coming up, but the one that was last year, I think September of last year, or no, maybe February, one of those. One guy came on, and he was a professor. He was a professor like in Exeter, and he came on to say that sometimes darkness is good. Like he was talking about, he had this long-winded, very, very gabbled attempt to describe his research into Tolkien stuff that was about Tolkien's representation of darkness, and he tried to make it out like it was a thing that was, he linked it with like the darkness of man's ignorance and something else about the dark that you have to walk into in order to discover things. Like it was a whole production. But the only time that he could find anything in the book that made dark good was like Luthien's hair being black, which was such a weak. It was so weak. Like, and they make, but no, it's all about eating. Stop writing works about what Tolkien's books are about. It's all about eating. It's all about eating. It's not about whatever the fuck you guys want it to be about. Don't worry, honeybee. We got talking about Lord of the Rings Online and Minas Morgul and eating as well, because the gates of Minas Morgul are just a mouth with teeth that apparently open like a mouth, which is terrifying. This whole bit is very scary. I like it very much. Yes, across the narrow valley, now almost on a level with his eyes, the wall of the evil city stood, and its cavernous gate, shaped like an open mouth with gleaming teeth, was gaping wide. And out of the gate an army came. All that host was clad in sable, dark as the night. Against the wan walls and the luminous pavement of the road, Frodo could see them, small black figures in rank upon rank, marching swiftly and silently, passing outwards in the endless stream. Before them went a great cavalry of horsemen, moving like ordered shadows, and at their head was one greater than all the rest, a rider, all black, save that on his hooded head, he had a helm like a crown that flickered with a perilous light. Now he was drawing near the bridge below, and Frodo's staring eyes followed him, unable to wink or to withdraw. Surely there was the Lord of the Nine Riders, returned to earth to lead his ghastly host to battle. Here, yes, here indeed was the haggard king, whose cold hand had smitten down the ring bearer with his deadly knife. The old wound throbbed with pain, and a great chill spread towards Frodo's heart. Even as these thoughts pierced him with dread and held him bound as with a spell, the rider halted suddenly, right before the entrance of the bridge, and behind him all the host stood still. There was a pause, a dead silence. Maybe it was the ring that called to the Wraith Lord, and for a moment he was troubled, sensing some other power within his valley. This way and that turned the dark head, helmed and crowned with fear, sweeping the shadows with its unseen eyes. Frodo waited, like a bird at the approach of a snake, unable to move, and as he waited he felt, more urgent than ever before, the command that he should put on the ring. But great as the pressure was, he felt no inclination now to yield to it. He knew that the ring would only betray... okay, I have something to say. The ring, I think, works thus. It literally, it's always trying to get back to its master. So the times when it starts working are either when the ring wraiths, I think the ring wraiths can actively like turn it on because when they're around, because it's good. It's good for it to put it on when the ring wraiths are there because they'll see it and then they'll take it, whatever. That's what the ring is trying to do. And also I think that the ring, because it does it with it turns on its ability to tempt people when it can tell that they're ripe to be tempted. That's all I'll say for now because we need. I want to get through this bit because I'm mashing it up a lot, but it's very ominous and cool. So yes, I think it's kind of like a machine, kind of like an AI that is turned on sometimes. Oh shit, that actually would be kind of baller. I don't tend to like sci-fi, but actually that might be kind of cool. It would have to be Mordor would have to be a planet, wouldn't it? It'd have to be like a planet thing with like different Gondor being like a other planet that's like right next. Oh, I'm now excited about this. I'm now thinking about this a lot. Damn it. It's kind of cool. They would also still have to have swords, otherwise I wouldn't like it. But other than that, very cool as an idea that I'm now thinking of quite a lot. Okay. Where did I turn the page? Maybe the ring called to the wraith this way and that. As he waited, he felt more urgent than ever before the command that he should put on the ring. But great as the pressure was, he felt no inclination now to yield to it. He knew that the ring would only betray him, and that he had not, even if he put it on, the power to face the Morgul king. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet, he says. Not yet. Fuck, I love this book. There was no longer any answer to that command in his own will, dismayed by terror though it was, and he felt only the beating upon him of a great power. Okay, okay, we're actually gonna keep going back to the thing. So this is now. I'm sorry, Kaz, if you're still here, I'm gonna be mean to you again. This is now confirming my explanation. He doesn't want to put it on, and he doesn't want it because he knows logically he can't have it, and it won't do him any good. So logically he knows, and therefore it's not actually. Despite there being pressure, it's not from within him, and so there's no pressure from within him so it's not working on him anymore. Ha! Oh, he's probably not here anymore, is he? Damn it. Never mind. It took his hand. He felt only the beating upon him of a great power from outside. It took his hand, and as Frodo watched with his mind, not willing it, but in suspense, as if he looked on some old story far away, it moved the hand inch by inch towards the chain upon his neck. Then his own will stirred. Slowly it forced the hand back, and set it to find another thing, a thing lying hidden near his breast. Cold and hard it seemed as his grip closed on it, the phial of Galadriel, so long treasured and almost forgotten till that hour. As he touched it, for a while all thought of the ring was banished from his mind. He sighed and bent his head. At that moment the Wraith King turned and spurred his horse and rode across the bridge, and all his dark host followed him. Maybe the elven hoods defied his unseen eyes, and the mind of his small enemy, being strengthened, had turned aside his thought. But he was in haste. Already the hour had struck, and at his great master's bidding he must march with war into the west. Soon he had passed, like a shadow into shadow, down the winding road, and behind him still the black ranks crossed the bridge. So great an army had never issued from that vale since the days of Isildur's might. No host so fell, and strong in arms had yet assailed the fords of Anduin, and yet it was but one and not the greatest of the hosts that Mordor now sent forth. Ugh. Ugh. Now, it doesn't say here that these are orcs. It says also that they're dressed in black sable, which is like a whole thing. Like that's a big deal. It's like a whole thing. Like the aesthetic that the that the ring wraiths demand is so great. So actually, realistically speaking, when that terrible post that literally will not leave me alone, where I said that we need to bully Sauron more for choosing only black horses, maybe actually considering that the rest of Sauron's forces are all just orcs, and the teeth are like rusted metal, and there's not much actual beauty in a lot of the architecture that Mordor and Sauron specifically demand. Maybe it's actually just the ring wraiths were like, no, we want black horses or we won't go. Maybe it's the ring wraiths. And then the ring wraiths were like, I need sable. I need black sable to dress my hosts in. Because they all have to be black. They'll be dressed in black sable. Which is still very funny to me. I mean, are these men? We don't know. I mean, I don't think they would be. They should be orcs. But then again, maybe they're not, because it was said in the thing, it was said by Faramir that I have 69 followers now. Ha, nice. A lot in it. There are the teeth, which weren't built by Gondor, I don't think. Like Narcos, it wasn't built by Gondor. The Morannon was not built by Gondor. There is a dress code, it's true. But only for the ring wraiths. Only for the ring wraiths and their terrible hordes. Damn, this is kind of a good place to stop. Admittedly, the whether or not Narcos and what's the other one called? I can't remember. But the teeth were built by Gondor or not was something that I was trying to figure out as well for a while. I couldn't find a good answer. I mean, it's certainly no, but they still have, like, they're still spoken of in a really evil way. And if the teeth were built, then surely the Morannon should have been built at the same time. Like the Morannon, you would think that the Morannon would be built at the same time as the teeth. So why would they have built the teeth and not the Morannon at the same time? I feel like Sauron built the teeth, or at least orcs, you know. Certainly fucking the Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of Mordor says that Gondorians built the teeth. Apparently Gondorians used slave labor to build the teeth, says Shadow of Mordor. The fuckers. Because Gondor bad or whatever. But yeah, check for me. I mean, it is possible. It is possible that they built the teeth. It's just called Narcos. So, and that is not a Sauron name. But then also calling them the teeth. Because when would they have built it? Is my question. When would they have built it? I guess they would have built it after. Men of Gondor built the teeth. The Black Gate is closed, chap. Oh! Huh. I know, honeybee. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I think we are going to stop here. But you'll get to your girl on Friday, which is not that far away. It's literally like the day after tomorrow, so don't worry. Right, okay, so that means... Oh, so was the Morannon built before or after that? Does the book say? Because I guess that would... Okay, that would make sense. If the Morannon was already there, but then they built the teeth in order to house the watchers of the gate. But then again, it's called the Morannon, which again is a Sindarin word. So it would be odd. Maybe they built the Morannon. Maybe they all built. I mean, okay. So this is after the War of the Lost Alliance. After the War of the Lost Alliance, after the overthrow of Sauron. Yeah, I guess that would make sense. All right.
What was I thinking of then? Oh yes, so the architecture. Well, okay. So well, I guess the Barad-dûr is then the only architecture I can think of in terms of Mordor architecture that we have. I don't know how that's described. I still need to. We'll get there. We'll get there. But yes, I'm so sorry, Honeybee. I'm afraid we are stopping there. Now that Mordor's sent forth the hosts. And we'll get to it. We'll get to your wife. We'll get to your beautiful girl. All I'm saying is maybe this was a very long-winded discussion that was just to decide whether or not it's Sauron wanting the black horses and the black sable and the black everything, or if it's the ring wraiths being petty. Yeah, I imagine it would be. It's creepy. Somebody just followed me and got me up from 69. And I'm delighted they're here. Very glad. It was nice. It was nice while it lasted, but thank you for following the channel. No? Are you sure? Like, I mean, it feels like it should. Like, he's an eye also, like a full on, like just a circle eye, like an actual living bloody eye, which I miss. Oh, well, then I guess it would be him, wouldn't it? Does that mean that he demanded that they all wear black sable as well? So Sauron's like, okay, you have to. I mean, it does. The Minas Morgul is very aesthetic. Like as far as it goes, Minas Morgul's aesthetic is like it's a lot. There's a lot happening. Okay, so he got it from his dad. Got it from his boss. That makes sense. But Minas Morgul is very aesthetic. I suppose it makes sense because Minas Morgul isn't a thing that he built. It's a thing that he took, so it's a real symbol of great victory. He's really glad that he got it. So by taking it and making it super aesthetic, then he can do whatever he likes, and you know, be all scary and cool. Yes, but the orcs don't wear sable. It's not just black. It's like specifically sable, which is a quite an expensive material as far as I'm aware. Anyway, that's it. I will leave you there. Right. The race do get some input, yeah. The race do get some input, and I mean, do they though? Yeah. I guess they could all have a nice PR meeting with. Oh, excellent. Okay, all right then. Toodle everybody. Could you all tell me when you hear me say now, so that I can stop the stream at the right time? Oh, I think we have quite a delay.